For centuries, Queen Elizabeth I has been remembered as the Virgin Queen, a ruler who claimed she married her country instead of a man. But behind the gilded portraits and royal propaganda lies a far more dangerous story. Whispers of forbidden love, midnight encounters, and secret alliances threaten to unravel the very stability of her throne. Did Elizabeth truly remain untouched? Or was the myth of her chastity the greatest political cover-up of the Tudor age? Today, we uncover the scandalous truth about the secret lovers of Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I reigned from 1558 to 1603, one of the longest and most celebrated monarchs in English history. She skillfully cultivated the image of the untouchable Virgin Queen, presenting herself as a divine figure, married only to England. This persona gave her an aura of independence, making her untouchable by foreign suitors and strengthening her authority over her court. But behind palace doors, things were not so simple. Elizabeth was a woman surrounded by men, advisors, courtiers, and ambassadors, each with their own ambitions and some with far more intimate ties to her than history books usually admit. The first, and most notorious, of Elizabeth's alleged lovers was Robert Dudley, her childhood friend and lifelong companion. Dudley was dashing, charming, and ambitious. When Elizabeth ascended the throne, Dudley was by her side, soon promoted to Master of the Horse, a position that placed him constantly in her presence. Rumors exploded almost instantly. Foreign ambassadors wrote back to their courts that Elizabeth's affection for Dudley was so evident it scandalized the court. The Queen spent late nights with him, often locking herself away in her private chambers where Dudley was the only man allowed. But scandal turned darker when Dudley's wife, Amy Robsart, died under suspicious circumstances in 1560, found at the bottom of a staircase with a broken neck. Many whispered Elizabeth and Dudley conspired to remove Amy so that they could marry. Whether true or not, the event nearly destroyed Elizabeth's reputation. She could not risk being tied to a suspected murderer, and so their romance, if it was one, was forced into shadows. Despite the dangers, Elizabeth and Dudley's connection never truly ended. For decades, he remained at her side, showering her with letters filled with devotion, calling her "my most dear lady," and signing himself "your assured and faithful servant." Some historians believe Elizabeth did consummate this relationship in secret, though she could never admit it publicly. At court, jealous nobles gossiped relentlessly. One foreign diplomat even claimed Elizabeth was married in secret to Dudley, a statement that, if true, would have rocked the Tudor dynasty. But Elizabeth, ever the political strategist, denied it, letting her reputation as the Virgin Queen remain intact while indulging her private attachments in the shadows. Dudley was not the only man to capture Elizabeth's heart. As she grew older, she surrounded herself with younger, ambitious courtiers who flattered her relentlessly. One of the most famous was Sir Walter Raleigh, the bold explorer who brought tobacco and tales of the New World to her court. Raleigh's charisma and daring spirit enchanted Elizabeth. Letters reveal their flirtation, with Elizabeth showering him in favors, until he betrayed her by secretly marrying one of her ladies-in-waiting. When Elizabeth found out, she had them both imprisoned in the Tower. Then came Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, Dudley's stepson, decades younger than the Queen. Their relationship was one of passion and volatility. Elizabeth adored Essex, calling him her "sweet Robin." But his arrogance and hunger for power clashed with her rule. In moments of anger, Elizabeth reportedly slapped him in public, only for Essex to storm into her bedchamber unannounced. Their intimacy scandalized the court, and Essex's eventual rebellion against the crown led to his execution, ordered by the very woman who once loved him. Elizabeth's court was a nest of spies, and her personal life was constant fodder for foreign ambassadors. Reports circulated that she had lovers among her courtiers, guards, and even musicians. One Spanish diplomat claimed Elizabeth did not live chastely and entertained men in secret. Another rumor accused her of bearing illegitimate children who were hidden away from the public eye. None of these claims were ever proven, but their persistence shows how powerful and dangerous the idea of a sexually active queen was in the 16th century. For Elizabeth, secrecy was survival. If she was seen as weak, compromised, or manipulated by a man, her enemies could have used it to depose her. Thus, the Virgin Queen myth became not only an image, but a weapon. So, was Elizabeth truly the untouchable Virgin Queen? Or did she master the art of hiding her desires while projecting purity to the world? In the second half of our investigation, we'll uncover more shocking claims about Elizabeth's hidden passions, the men who may have shared her bed, and the political consequences of her most dangerous relationships. Stay with us as we peel back the final veil on the forbidden lovers of Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth's greatest challenge was that every man she allowed close to her carried political consequences. For the Virgin Queen, intimacy was never just personal. It was national security. Take Robert Dudley once more. Even decades after his wife's death, Elizabeth showered him with attention, fueling endless speculation. At one point, foreign courts believed marriage between the two was imminent, a union that would shift alliances across Europe. But Elizabeth always pulled back. She knew too well that marriage, even to the man she loved most, would place her under a husband's authority, threatening the independence she fought so hard to preserve. This calculated restraint left Elizabeth perpetually balancing passion and power. Her affections were real, but they had to be concealed beneath layers of courtly ritual and careful denial. Perhaps the most shocking rumor was that Elizabeth secretly bore children. Some writers from the period, often hostile to her reign, claimed that hidden pregnancies explained her long periods of withdrawal from public life. Theories range from Dudley fathering a child in the 1560s to claims that Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, was not only her lover, but possibly her son, through Dudley. While historians generally dismiss these ideas as political slander, the persistence of such stories reveals how deeply the Virgin Queen image was questioned, even in her own time. To her critics, Elizabeth's chastity was impossible to believe. To her supporters, the rumors were a dangerous attempt to destabilize her throne. The truth remains lost in whispers, but the very existence of these tales shows how Elizabeth's love life was weaponized in the brutal politics of the Tudor world. What made secrecy possible for Elizabeth was the loyalty and silence of her ladies-in-waiting. These women lived in constant proximity to the Queen, attending her in bedchambers, dressing her, and monitoring her private audiences. If Elizabeth did conduct affairs, her ladies would have known, yet few ever spoke openly. Silence was survival. To betray the Queen's secrets was to risk ruin, or worse. Even so, subtle hints exist. Court gossip spoke of Elizabeth keeping men in her chambers longer than protocol allowed, of ladies discreetly turning away when the Queen lingered too closely with a favorite. It was a world of coded glances, half-closed doors, and unspoken understandings. The Virgin Queen myth survived not just because Elizabeth needed it, but because her household worked tirelessly to protect it. The story of Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, is perhaps the most tragic of Elizabeth's entanglements. Elizabeth adored him in a way she had not loved since her youth with Dudley. He was bold, reckless, and handsome, everything a queen might secretly desire. But Essex was also arrogant and careless. He defied Elizabeth, undermined her authority, and even barged into her chambers while she was only half-dressed. A shocking breach of etiquette that hinted at their unusual intimacy. His downfall came when he led a rebellion against the crown in 1601. Elizabeth was forced to sign his death warrant. Witnesses described her as devastated, pacing her chambers, torn between duty and affection. In executing Essex, she killed the man who may have been her last great love. Elizabeth's relationships were not just personal, they were strategic. She dangled the possibility of marriage before European princes and kings, using her unmarried status as a bargaining chip. She entertained suitors from Spain, France, and Austria, never intending to wed, but extracting alliances and favors from their hopes. At home, her flirtations with men like Raleigh and Essex bound ambitious nobles to her side, ensuring their loyalty, at least for a time. In this way, Elizabeth transformed her own desirability into a weapon of statecraft. Was she genuinely in love? Certainly. But she was also playing a game where romance and politics blurred, where affection could mean survival. So, was Elizabeth I truly the Virgin Queen, or was that simply the most successful lie in English history? The truth may never be fully known. What is certain is that Elizabeth's careful control of her image was one of her greatest political achievements. By cultivating the idea of virginity, she elevated herself above ordinary women, claiming a divine, almost untouchable authority. And yet behind the closed doors of her chambers, Elizabeth was still human, capable of desire, devotion, and heartbreak. Whether she took lovers in secret or not, the rumors themselves shaped her reign, fueling both adoration and attack. In the end, perhaps Elizabeth's greatest love was not for any man, but for the throne itself. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden passions of Queen Elizabeth I, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of history's most fascinating figures. And tell us in the comments, do you believe Elizabeth truly remained the Virgin Queen, or was her greatest secret one she took to the grave? Thank you for watching, and join us next time as we peel back more layers of the past to reveal the truths history tried to hide.